morning, Shirley, and our guest today, Bridget. We're so excited to have Bridget with us, and this is a first for us. We're going to do a month of Meet the Authors, and at the moment, Bridget's my favorite author for children's storybooks. And we're looking at authors and books that we will be including in our programs that are coming up. And Bridget, your first book, children's book, Small Mercies, like I was saying just a moment ago, stirred my heart so much, and that of my foster daughter. And I would love to hear a little bit of your background as to how you ended up writing such deep, rich stories for children.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks for having me. Okay, so my background was actually in textbooks. Well, my original background was I was a teacher. Then I had children of my own and wanted something I could do more from home. And you know how hard teachers work. And I just felt it wasn't a good fit for our family. So I started working for publishers, writing materials for first editional language English textbooks. And I think it built up my confidence a little bit that I could write original material, and you know that other people seem to enjoy it and like reading it. So I worked in textbooks for a long time, and the problem with textbooks, well, there are many problems with writing textbooks, including the horrendous deadlines. But the one thing is that you work like the blazes, and then you have long periods where the curriculum is done, it's all finished, and there's no work to be done. Fortunately, if you are lucky, you're earning royalties, so you don't have the pressure to find an income. But I really wanted to write something completely of my own that wasn't constrained by all the curriculum requirements. So I thought, well, I'll write children's novels, and because there seems to be a dearth of children's books by South African authors, especially in the genre that I like to write, which is, I call it slice of life books. There's a lot of books to do with fables and animal stories. There's some beautiful picture books. And then there are authors who are doing young adult fiction, but there seemed to be a gap in that sort of 10, 11, 12-year-old age group. So I thought, well, I'll write for that age group. How hard can it be? And then I discovered it was hard, and I really struggled. So I took a course with an online writing course with Faber in England, to learn some of the craft of writing, because although I'd written readers and short novels for the textbook market, this was quite a different thing. I wanted it to be a lot richer and a lot more nuanced, and I was really struggling to do it. So the course was incredibly helpful for me, and it took me about 5 years to finish Small Mercies, because I was so busy with other textbooks that kept coming in, and we built a house, and my kids kind of grew up and left school, and so I can't say I wrote solidly for 5 years at all, but it was a long time. It cooked in my head for a long time, and so that's how I came to write it. I think I also started with the idea I wanted to tell the story of Gandhi, which is a story that's comes from my hometown, Pietermaritzburg. And I felt like that was such an important story that needed to be told, and I didn't see it reflected anywhere. And here's this man with such with so much stature, and he had a life-changing experience here in Maritzburg, and he referred to it as one of the most formative experiences of his life. So I wanted to explore that, but children don't like a dry history lesson. So I needed to create characters and a situation that had as much heart and soul as I could muster, and tell that story as a kind of along the way, rather than make it a dry lesson in history. And so that was really my initial impetus for writing the book.
Well, I think you did it exceptionally because, you know, Gandhi is just woven through the story, as is some of the real life issues that we face in the century, you know, foster children and families that don't look like normal families, and dementia that came through. And of course, the chicken. I mean,
yes.
you know, lemon. I used to have chickens, and the whole way through it was lemon, right? Lemon was the
yes,
chicken.
lemon.
And lemon really crept into my heart. So you had exactly what you set out to do in creating this living history, which is what Shirley and I are really about with Footprints.
Yes.
You know, got me so thrilled. I was back to Shirley in a flash after she said a flag just looked at me, and I said, we've got a book, you know, which is so exciting.
Oh, that's so pleasing for me to hear, honestly, because I did write it for South African children. And interestingly, I tried to get it published here thinking, well, this is a South African story. I never imagined it would be of interest to kids in the rest of the world. But the publishers here, for various complicated reasons, I think are very slow to take on local authors, partly I think because there's so many wonderful books coming out of the UK and America, and it's hard to compete with the excellence of that storytelling. And but eventually I found a publisher in America, and it's actually done really well in America and in the UK. And so it turns out that it was an internationally interesting story after all. And that's been a delight for me to sort of watch it. It's like sending a little knock-kneed kid out into the world, and then she did well.
Oh, shame. You know, I think perhaps because, you know, the theme of Gandhi is not the only theme. There are themes there that are universal to everybody.
No, including bullying. That was one that I really wanted to address. Yeah.
And then also winning over that bully, you know, instead of becoming like a bully, to actually take a higher road, but not in a self-righteous way, just, you know, through love and acceptance.
Just quietly kind of realigning of loyalties. Yeah.
It was absolutely fantastic. Do you think you're going to stay with children's novels?
I think so. You know, it's the publisher in England who I worked with, Mara Bergman, who worked for Walker Books, she said to me, there's not enough really good children's books in this particular age group. Please stay here. And it does seem to be where my you just have to go where your heart beats, you know. So it wasn't, and that is where my heart beats. So my next book is also for that age group, a completely different setting. And so many people have asked if there's a sequel to Mercy's story. At the moment, there isn't. But this next book is honestly one of my favorite stories. I feel like it was a gift to me to get the story. And so I'm really looking forward to that one coming out as well. And I think I'm going to stay in this age group. I mean, I'm still writing textbooks alongside, and I do anything from grade 1 all the way through to matric. But this is really my favorite age group. It feels like it's kids who you're just on the brink of something, and you can deal with some really meaty issues here. You don't have to condescend. You don't have to water things down or baby things for them. They know the world is hard. They know so much already, and there's just something beautiful about those emerging people and the struggles that they're facing at that particular time that I really respond to. So as far as I know, that's where I'm going to stay for now. Yeah.
Bridget, it was interesting to hear you say that you got the next story, because I was going to actually ask you whether there are aspects in the first, in Small Mercies, that were from your own life or your experience with your children or with teaching, or was a lot of it, did it require a lot of research as well?
Yes. Surely both, really. The old people in the book, who are quite vivid, I think, the old aunts and Mr. Singh, those are modeled very much on people I know and love, sort of a mishmash of aunts and grandmothers and elderly friends. So those were all based on real people. But I did have to do research into all kinds of things like Alzheimer's. I don't have direct experience with that. People are so helpful as well. If they know you're writing something and you want information, they are so willing to tell you about Victorian pottery or beekeeping or, Alzheimer's, all sorts of things, the history of civil disobedience in Maritzburg. There were so many people I could talk to, and they were so generous with their time. So it was really a mixture of, and I think a lot of fiction is like that. There's bits of yourself, and then there's bits that you weave in from outside yourself.
So you obviously enjoy that creative process. And to go back to what your comment, you got the story. Did somebody tell you a story, or how did you get it? Did it just come to you?
So this for me was such an interesting thing. Whenever I do a talk at schools, I haven't done many because of COVID, but if I've done, a Zoom call once or twice, I've been to an actual school. Kids are always dying to know, where do you get your ideas? And some authors sort of roll their eyes and think, they're this old coconut again. But for me, it's actually really, really interesting, because it's a wonderful mystery where these stories come from, and they do come to you in a very strange way. And when it comes to you, you know it, you feel it. It's physical. It's like your heart beats a little faster. There's an energy that you pick up on. And because I write, people are always saying to me, if I tell a funny story about my dog or a child or something that happened, they say, oh, you must write about that. But if I don't feel that kind of electric zingy feel that I've come to recognize, then I don't write about it. And so the stories, I think what happens is I often use this image of when I decide I'm going to write something, it's like I mount a satellite dish on my head, like totally imaginary satellite dish.
Yes.
And everywhere I go, and every conversation I have, every TV program I watch, everything I hear on the radio or read in the newspaper, this satellite dish is scanning like this. And then suddenly, and I'll go weeks where it's just scanning, nothing's happening. And then suddenly it'll go, and there's a
connection.
Explain it any other way. And then I've come to trust that, and to know, okay, there's something here, there's something that's really worth exploring. Dig here at this point. It's like dowsing for water or something. I don't know how it comes, but it comes, and then it'll be just a little bit of energy around something, and then I'll start to dig, and it just gets richer and richer and richer, and then it's honestly the best feeling in the world. Like, for example, Gandhi in Small Mercies. I thought, Gandhi, this is a story hasn't been told before, and my satellite dish was going zzz, zzz, zzz. And then I started to dig there and discovered that there were so many wonderful things about this that I had no idea about. I mean, the fact that he attributed this experience to, being so formative in his life. Then I discovered that Gandhi was actually a very, very shy, unassuming person, riddled with self-doubt and self-consciousness and all the things that afflict ordinary people, that he wasn't born a world leader. He was a timid, very, very shy person. And something happened to him that night that made him kind of stand in his power and decide he's going to speak the truth. He's not going to become a world famous leader. He's just going to speak the truth. And I found that really, really interesting. And his whole thing of satyagraha, which I always thought meant passive resistance, actually just means the quiet insistence of truth. If you speak the truth, then there will be consequences, and you must take those on the chin, but that's all you have to do. And there was something about that I thought was really, really profound and quite beautiful. So you know, then my satellite dish is going crazy, and I think I've got to like really dig here and find a way to weave this in, and then I feel quite a responsibility to the story too. I feel like something has been given to me, and I need to see it through. You know, I can't just
it's quite a profound message, and you're now responsible to present it carefully and creatively. It's lovely.
I am, and I feel that responsibility. I mean, it sounds a little bit self-important, and I don't mean it to be at all, but I do feel that responsibility. And then, as long as I do my work, then what happens with the book when I release it into the world, that's its responsibility, or somebody else's responsibility. I did my work, and I have to do that as best as I possibly can, and then let it go. And you know, fingers crossed it affects lives and touches people. If it doesn't, too bad. I get on with the next thing, and you know, do that to the best of my ability. So yeah.
Well, we are waiting for that second book to come from the publishers as a preview copy. I can't wait to get my grubby little paws on it. But thank you so much. It's just been really lovely to get inside that thought process, but also to meet you and know that there's heart in your book. You know, you didn't churn out, you didn't get into this to churn out a bestseller. You got in to share exactly as you said at the beginning, which I really love, a slice of life. You know, which is relevant to kids in this day and age. So thank you so much, Bridget. Really.
No, that's such a pleasure, Wendy, and it's been lovely to meet you. And I'm so pleased that the books resonate with you. So, or the book resonates. I hope the next one does too.
I'm sure it will. Thanks for